Thank God for another day. Hey, hey, I know we could be another way. Hey, pray. Thank God for another day. Hey, hey, I know we could be another way.
Yo, it's your girl, Jessica S. Smith, and I am super excited. Y'all, I am so tickled because y'all know we don't normally do the virtual thing, but today is a special day. You have entered the safe space for influencers to decompress, have fun, and just ask. It's your girl, Jessica S. Smith, again, and I'm super excited about this week's episode, you guys. I don't know if you guys remember, but I had made a post maybe it's been a minute ago that we were going international. Okay, that we're going to France. That we, bonjour. I don't know anything else but bonjour, and maybe I'll learn a little bit more today. But we are super excited. But before we get into our guest and bringing him forward, listen, I really, really want you guys to know that the link is still our place. Okay, the link is still our place. Even though we're virtual right now, I'm at the house. It's not as pretty. I don't have all the aesthetics or what right now. I got this lighting though. This light is lighting though. But the link in Birmingham, Alabama, the Entrepreneur Center. You guys want to make sure that you go ahead and book your appointment, for your podcast, for your event. Maybe they even do fingerprints. So if you need fingerprints on the east side of Birmingham, listen, you want to go allow the funmies to help you take care of that. Okay, so make sure that you go to the link that's in the description under the link, and they'll get you taken care of. Okay, so now y'all, like I said, we're going to France. Oh, let me back up. Desiree is backstage right now, but I know y'all love this song, so I'm gonna hit it for you one time. Desiree, 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 Desiree. She's speaking to y'all in the spirit because she was like, "I'm not coming on the screen today, but y'all can get on her later for that. Y'all can get on her tomorrow about that." Okay. So now that y'all got y'all song, now that y'all got everything else, okay, let's get into it. So we have none other than a great man. I spent like a few moments with him before we solidified this call, and he's full of energy, he's full of life. And listen, the testimony that he has is really powerful. He is an author. We love authors over here. He is a career transition coach. He is into the tech and gaming field, y'all. He is out here changing lives and helping people progress. Okay, we have none other than my new French friend, Mr. Benedikt Oehmen.
Hey Jess, thank you very much for that very warm welcome.
Listen, this is how we do it over here. I'm from Alabama in the United States, so this is how we just love on people. Benedikt, how are you?
I'm good. Thank you. As you can see, I unfortunately broke my arm in two places, but that's not holding me back. So still moving forward with everything that's going on. And yeah, my wife is pregnant, so in 2 months we are welcoming our little daughter into the world. So very excited for that. And yeah, super excited to be here and to be talking with you.
I'm beyond excited that you guys reached out. Like, shout out to Tiago. He is very consistent and persistent, and he is very energized. I can tell you that. I cannot wait to meet him as well. And so, Benedikt, thank you so much. It's gonna be different. I told my audience, I was like, this is my first time, going international. So I'm really excited about that. And then the realm that you're in, the industry, and I don't even think we've had an influencer in this industry. So can we go into that? Can you explain the industry? Because the only thing I know about gaming is what I see on YouTube. My little brother's into the gaming. All I know is it really draws people in, but you're on the back end of that. So what does that look like for you?
Okay, so yeah, glad you asked because so what I gathered from your podcast, you talk a lot about safe spaces and providing that space for people to be themselves. And that was exactly to me when I started in gaming, that was the gaming industry because I started with Blizzard Entertainment in 2005 here in France. There's a reason why I relocated from Germany to France in the first place. And it was a company of gamers making games for other gamers. And I loved that. And the moment you came through the door, everybody was a nerd, everybody was a geek, and you felt right at home and you could just be yourself. And that's what drew me to Blizzard and the gaming industry in the first place, just being able to be yourself and doing cool stuff that others and yourself value, and everybody is having a blast doing it.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
that's what drew me to it, and I think that's what makes a really good connect here as well with your podcast. And yeah, to me in 2005, so I was studying physics at the time. I have my bachelor's degree in physics. And I asked myself, okay, what do I want to do with that when I grow up or for a real job? And nothing really came to mind. And my brother Martin mentioned like, hey, Benedikt, they're actually hiring at Blizzard for World of Warcraft Game Masters. Like, ooh, that sounds cool. Let's maybe take a semester off and see if they would take me. Was the game I was playing at the time as well. And they invited me to an interview online, and then, hey, can you come to France for an in-person interview? Sure, let's do that. And then the next day they called me back. So yeah, when can you start? And
What?
that's back in the day. It was that easy to get into the games industry. Today it's very different. Today, gaming companies are more mature. They are consolidating a lot. They are also closing a lot of offices to basically increase their bottom line and be as efficient as they can be. So today it's a way different beast trying to get into the game industry. But back in the day, like roughly 20 years ago, it was as easy as that. You were a nerd, you knew the game in and out, and you hit them up like, hey, I see you're looking for people to help with the support. I can do that. Like, sure, come on board.
Yeah, yeah. So I love that you said there is a difference between then and now. So if I may ask, how old were you when you made the decision to? Because what I hear that you dropped out of school, so you didn't finish school, did you?
So I didn't finish university. So I have, well, I finished after 4 years, which is a bachelor's degree, but I
Okay.
didn't do the doctor and everything afterwards. And I was 23 at the time. So I started studying at 19. And then for 4 years, I was in Heidelberg, Germany, studying physics. And then in, when was it, 2005, I applied and joined Blizzard Entertainment here in France, and now it's 19 years later. Yeah.
Yeah. So Benedict, what's the difference between getting into the gaming industry then
Mhm.
than it is now?
Yeah. So back in the day, it was the gaming industry was still forming and was very young, and people just tried different things. And if you if you had a passion for it, there was very little obstacles you needed to overcome to join a gaming company, because they were first and foremost looking for people that share the same values and interests to make the coolest, most engaging games they can. And today it's very much matured, and it's very much a business where it goes away from how can we make the coolest, most awesome games for players to how can we make the most money with this, and how can we monetize it better, and how can we keep people engaged, so basically in front of our game instead of in front of Netflix or in front of YouTube or any other social media. And that's the main difference. So it's a real business now, instead of
Yeah.
like a business where you had fun doing stuff and you were also making money on the side, but the money wasn't really the focus point. And now money is very much the focus point for most companies. The exception to that a little bit are like independent studios, so indie games, where they are again more looking at, we want to bring our vision to life and we have a lower budget and a lower team size. So they are usually not as big and grand as the AAA games, the games with a really high budget, but they're really looking at what is the fantasy that we want to bring to life, what is the kind of engagement we want to deliver. So they are still living the dream, but they're also having a hard time finding funding and keeping above water with all the different sources of entertainment that you have these days.
You're bringing up some good points. One of the things that one of the words you used was the fantasy, right? And so I think there are two people that you have to think about when you're thinking about the concept of gaming or in your industry. You think about the consumer, but you're also thinking about the person that's actually creating the games. And in my mind, like I said, my brother, he is in love with gaming. Like he literally just told us that if he could do the YouTube gaming thing, he would do it. And I don't understand it. That's not something that I'm addicted to. So could you give us, like, especially for parents, right? I do have a lot of parents that are on this platform, and maybe their kids are into the gaming world. Can you give them like a why behind why the kids are interested in what it does psychologically to them, and give us a pathway on how to balance and communicate effectively well? Because I know I can't pick up one of those things and go, I mess up every time.
So what's cool about games is they connect you with others in an active fashion. So instead of sitting there and scrolling through YouTube and watching videos or watching Netflix all day, which is just one way consumption of entertainment, in games you often have a multiplayer aspect where you play with others and you try to achieve a common goal together. And that's actually, like, I found always very valuable, because in those collaborative games you also learn a lot of leadership skills. You learn how to communicate with other people. You learn how to organize yourself. And in games like World of Warcraft back in the day, you needed to organize for 40 people to be online at the same time to go kill that mighty dragon, because it took 40 of you to accomplish that feat. So a lot of organizational skills, communication, but also tactical planning and strategy. So that's the part that's really cool and really engaging. On the flip side, you need to take everything in moderation. There's a potential that you get lost in the fantasy world. And if your entire world is only that one game, and that game is then also monetized in a predatory way where you can buy small successes or different cosmetic upgrades for your character with real cash, and you have a poor impulse control, that's where people spend hundreds and thousands and sometimes tens of thousands of dollars, because that's how those games keep themselves alive, through that monetization practice. And that is the dark side for me of gaming, because that, to me, is not the dream of the kind of games that I fell in love with when I was younger, and I wanted to help create and bring to other people. So moderation is key, but don't shy away from, like, exploring together with your kid, like what makes sense, where do they have that meaningful interaction with other people of their same age group, and what is just a money sink where basically they try to trigger dopamine in your head. So like, I need another kick, and the way you get that kick later is by throwing money at the screen, basically. Those games I wouldn't recommend.
No, that is, you just kind of helped me out, because when I think of gaming, I think of an escape before I think of developing leadership skills, developing community, developing teamwork skills. Like, you just brought another light to me, so I know you're gonna bring another light to other people. Maybe just thinking about the type of game. That's like what you said, anything with moderation. Like, I could be on YouTube learning about real estate, or I could be on YouTube just watching somebody else's life to escape mine. So I think that's a great point, that and we have good opportunities in this space in gaming, but what you do with it is important. So one of the things you brought up is the key of leadership. I know that you have some experience with leaders. Now, like I just said, I did not think about leadership in gaming, but I know that you were a leader at Benedikt, and no, that's your name. Oh my gosh. What is it? Blizzard?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you were a leader there. You had a team, and then there was a big transition happened to that led you to coaching. Can you tell us about that transition?
Yeah, definitely. So after I started at Blizzard, after half a year in the customer support center, I actually transitioned to the community team, which is the team that talks to the players on the one hand, takes their feedback, sends it to the developers, and then relays their feedback back to the players. So it's like the linchpin for the communication in between the company and their players. And that really resonated with me because for me, it was all about creating the most awesome game together, all of us, the people that work at Blizzard and the people who enjoy playing Blizzard's games. And for me in that team, it was then just a natural evolution that I became a team manager at some point because I loved it so much there that I never wanted to go anywhere else. And so basically at that point, then I started helping others find into the role that I had filled in the past of being a community manager for the German market. And then I had team members for all European languages. So I had one for German, English speaking, French, Spanish, Polish, Russian, and Italian. So we had one representative or one community manager for each language, and then it became my responsibility to help them engage with their communities in their best and most meaningful ways possible. Did a whole bunch of mistakes along the way, but that's how we learn.
Yeah.
And that went on until, let me see, when was it? I think in 2018 we had the reduction in force where 30% of the European office was being let go. And the way that works in France is very different from legal point of view than it works in the States. So instead of you being called into a meeting, somebody packs up your stuff and then you're being escorted out. It takes a whole year, basically, almost to facilitate that process because you also need to give people, or you may give people an opportunity to leave on their own volition. And then once the 30% are met, then you stop there, but you give people who want to leave an opportunity to find something and then leave proactively. And then for the rest, you need to see, can you reallocate people to different positions? And it takes a whole bunch of time. So during that process, the community team that I was working in was basically reduced from 10 people to one person for all 7 languages. So there was no individual language support anymore. There was just one person overlooking to implement whatever came from the US to implement that in the European markets. And to me, that was no longer what I wanted to do because for me, it was always I want to work with a team, I want to work with others, and together achieve something cool. So at that point, I transitioned from the community team to the localization team, where we translate all the game content and videos from English to the other languages in Europe. At this point already, like I tried to help my team at that point to transition out of Blizzard or find new positions within Blizzard that play best to their strengths. But I already knew, okay, so if that happened once and they're reducing us by 30%, who's to say that's not going to happen again or they close it completely in the future? So I was mentally prepared for that already and tried to prepare my team to build a little bit of resilience, like, hey, what if tomorrow Blizzard Europe is gone? What do you do then? And then in 2019, or 2020, then I believe they announced that they would close the Versailles office completely. And at that point, I sat down with my team and said, like, okay, we are all going through the 5 stages of grief, which for me at that point was done in 5 minutes because I was kind of expecting it already that this would happen.
Yeah.
And for the rest of my team, it took different amounts of time for them to process it at their own time. And I tried to be there for them to help them through each step and then said like, hey, once you're good and ready for it, we are still doing the work that we are doing. We're still getting paid. We're still doing our work well. But every minute we have on top of that, let's look at what you want to do. What is it that you value in a job and a company and in a career? And what can we do now to prepare yourself for in a year's time when the office will finally close for real, that you're in the best possible position to succeed in your future career. And that's really where I employed a lot of coaching techniques. I created a lot of workshops for people to help each other with specific applied learning and not only theory, that they actually had to do stuff. And I realized, oh, that is really cool because I get to do what I love, like achieving stuff together with others, but in a completely different context. So instead of we put out a game, now we put out a career plan for you, or just you're enhancing your well-being or making sure you're the best version of yourself that you can be. We're still achieving something together, and I enjoy the process. So why not make that my career? And that's then when I decided, okay, after Blizzard, I take a little time. I got 3 certifications in executive leadership, mental health, and corporate well-being coaching. And during that time frame, I also wrote my book as a proof of concept that what I was talking about actually works for me as well, because I always thought like, hey, writing a book would be awesome, but it's such a big undertaking. I'll never get it done. But when I reframed that from saying I want to write a book to say I want to become an author, what does an author do? They write a little bit every day. And that's what I did. And then after 3 months, all of a sudden I had a book.
So, Benedict, what I love about what you're saying is it's not just about an industry. That for one, you have a heart for people. Like that's what I hear first time. People. I love people that have a heart for people because when you're always after the coin, as I would say, or money, the dollar,
Mm.
you kind of miss the beautiful the beauty of the process of seeing people develop and being a part of their journey. Like what about the journey of people have you really connected to and enjoyed in this coaching process?
It's it's a great question, and it's hard to put a finger on it because, as you said, it's just there's just something deeply rewarding in helping other people like overcome their own challenges. So not solving stuff for other people, but being there for them, holding space for them, getting them into a mindset where they can use the right structure and the right tools to do what's important to them. And then they just flourish and get stuff done. And it just feels great. Like as a coach and as a team leader, that was always the most rewarding feeling for me. I, I I guess it comes back to how we evolved as a species, that we didn't evolve a single person alone in a cave, but we were always in groups. And it probably makes sense that we take joy from other people's successes so that we don't kill them with a rock in the middle of the night, right? Instead, we are
Yeah.
happy for them and fills us with joy. And the group is more tightly knit afterwards, because I also know it from the other perspective, like great managers and leaders and friends that I had that helped me grow. I was so appreciative for what they did for me. So I think it goes both directions, and having that as my profession now is deeply rewarding. At the same time, what you said about the money, you need to be able to get enough money out of it to sustain yourself, and in my case now my family and my daughter in the near future. But as long as we have enough money to do that, like who cares about money, right? At that point,
Yeah.
it's it's the true joy and happiness and belonging comes from being of use to other people, I believe.
Mhm.
And there I'm also super excited to become a dad, because that's like the most long-term leadership gig that you have for at least 18 years. You're like, okay, like I need to help you become the best version of yourself, and it's a really long-term project. So to me, like parenting and leadership in that sense also go hand in hand, and I think is why I'm super excited about that part of my life and my journey right now, is experiencing this in a completely different setting and on a completely different level. So yeah, I don't know if that answered your question.
No, that I love. See, one thing I like about you, man, is like you're able, the ability to be able to correlate what you do professionally in your private time too. Like, and that we're gonna get into that. Before I really want to get into like, make sure that we solidify the understanding of your coaching program, because people nowadays are just out here calling themselves coaches and just saying,
Yeah.
oh, because I went through this experience and I might have done this thing. It's just an easy word to say, right? But I found that the best coaches really, for one, they've been through what they're coaching, and then they have applied not only for themselves but people that are in a specific area in life, right? And that specific area in life that you seem like you are targeted for is change, like a transition.
Mhm.
Would that be correct? So, what are the biggest opportunities that you see that come out of this transition moment, and how do you enhance that part of their development?
So any change in your life to me is kind of an opportunity to reinvent yourself or to adjust where your life is going next. And that's
Mm,
just a super powerful thing. So it's just to a degree, like we have some degree of ownership over our own destiny, right? Not completely. There's always stuff that can happen to us, and hit by a bus, we are dead. Nothing we can do about it. But outside, or you fall down, break your arm. But even when that happens, um, we can still decide how we interact with that situation or how we react to those circumstances and how we decide to move forward. And that can be small changes in our life, or it can be big changes like I changed my career, I'm becoming a dad, I'm getting married, or like I'm stopping my studies and do something else. So it's really up to us to define like where do we want to make a conscious effort instead of just going with the flow, and then life is happening to us and it's okay. But we can also see, okay, we're in the flow now, where do I want the journey to go next, and then we can adjust our path. And to me, what it comes down to in those moments where we want to make that decision and where we want to have more control about where future me is down the line,
mm,
is that we are kind, present, and open with ourselves. And that I found through my practice with my team at Blizzard, that served me very well. That was the foundation of the workshop that I created. It served me very well in my private life. It's how I met and married the love of my life. It's also how I faced breaking my arm instead of blaming myself and telling myself, you idiot, you're 42 years old, why can't you walk straight? I decided to be kind to myself. I was like, yeah, there was an obstruction on the floor. It was painted black on a black floor. No way in hell I could have ever seen that coming.
right.
So there's nothing I could have done otherwise. And then having this like appreciation and non-judgment for yourself, this kindness, and saying like, hey, it is what it is. Now let's be present. what what can we do from here on out moving forward? And also the presence of mind, what else could have happened? Like, I'm super thankful to my arm to have broken the fall, because if I hit my head first, the force was enough to break both my elbow and my wrist. I might be dead. I don't know. Or I might have broken my nose or lost all my front teeth. It could have been so much worse. And if I had to break anything on my body, I think left arm is high on the top of the list,
Yeah.
because I'm right-handed and I like walking. So also, yeah, my kneecaps were pretty banged up, but luckily not broken. And had I broken those in addition or instead of my left arm, that would have been a lot worse, because then I wouldn't be able to walk. And that's just terrible. And that brings presence, brings all this, oh, this appreciation, like, phew, like I broke my arm and that sucks, but it could have been so much worse. And I can still like be myself in most areas of my life. Like, yes, my wife needs to help me with a lot of stuff, like putting butter on my bread. It's like you, you you get a new appreciation as well for what it means to have two working hands, and that's also something that I appreciate right now. Like once the arm is working again, I appreciate a lot more all the cool normal stuff I'll be able to do again, like holding my kid with both arms in 2 months, hopefully. And then the last part to that, after we were kind with ourselves, not judging ourselves, but looking at the good things and being present to seeing like, hey, what happened? What can I learn from that? What can I do differently in the future? Is being open to implement tiny, small changes that accumulate with time. Just having these systems and habits that, for example, for me, when I was writing the book, I just write something every day, 5 minutes after breakfast. That was my system. And those 5 minutes after a month were a couple of hours. And after 3 months, the book was done. And then the thing that we want in our life, in my case, writing a book, just becomes a consequence of who we are becoming. And that's a magical thing to me when it comes to this opportunity for change and career development or life and everything. And that's a magical thing for me because you can just apply that framework to whatever is important to you, where you choose to make a difference. And the rest, you can also just keep it coming as it is and enjoy life and be present with your loved ones. And yeah, that's almost magical to me.
Benedict, I promise you, you're stirring me right now. Do you know what that means? Do you know what it means if someone says you're stirring me?
No, can you
Okay,
define it for me?
I'm about to define it for you. That means that like my belly is leaping. I am excited. You have me on 10. I am stirred, meaning that what you just said was so powerful. And I'm going to tell you what I just heard.
Hmm.
That transition when you were saying from being kind to being present, I think that may be a point where I'm going to say I personally struggle with it.
Mm.
I might other people might can relate to this as to why we have less we have people that struggle more with success because we don't know how to be kind to ourselves.
Mm.
And for Jessica, what that looks like from what you just said, Benedict, is I have to be kind enough to myself to know that what I'm going through right now, or even the mistakes that I made, are okay. So I can get to being present enough to appreciate and show gratitude for where I
Mm.
am. Like the way you broke down the fact with your arm, like, yeah, your arm is broken. Yes, it hurt. It hurt so bad. That was a pain point in your life. But what you decided to do was like, I still got another arm to use. And my arm protected me. Yeah, my arm protected me from dying, potentially dying, or busting my head open, or being in a coma. It could have been worse.
Mm.
Like you literally saying it could be so much worse. And if you get stuck in the part where you're in pain and you're feeling the hurt and you're feeling the frustration of whatever has happened in this point, you never get to appreciate where you are so that you can be open to where you're going.
Mm.
Like that's what I mean. You stirred me. That was so good. Like I love it. So I'm super excited to connect. You said that the be kind, be present, be open, right? And you said
Exactly.
that you were able to use that strategy to meet your wife. How is
Yeah.
that?
So, in my youth, I wasn't always my biggest fan, and I had a lot of problems with being kind to myself part. So I always thought like, hey, I'm 2 meters 4, 6'7", so I'm like tall dude, and I always thought like, oh, I'm not funny enough, not good looking enough, and not intelligent enough, whatever it was that I thought I was missing to attract a life partner. And that haunted me well into my 30s. And what I decided doing at some point is be kind to myself and say like, hey, wait a second, why am I telling myself all of these negative things? Let's pump the brakes, look at what's actually good in my life. And then I have an awesome family. I have the best friends. I have my dream job. I have good friends around. I make money doing stuff that I love doing. I'm healthy, and like, oh my God, everything in my life is perfect except not having that partner. And then like, okay, what am I willing to do about it? Because at that point, my life was, I go home, I play games, and for 10 plus years, I was basically playing World of Warcraft as my only hobby. And were we talking about moderation before, I overdid it at that part. And I was not one of the people who met their life partner in game. Like my sister, for example, met her now boyfriend in World of Warcraft. They now moved in together, have 2 cats, and they have a splendid life. And the people in their guild are their friends, and they go to weddings together and all that kind of stuff. So that can happen, but didn't happen to me. And then I asked myself, okay, it's not happening by itself. What can I do? So being present with myself, even though I didn't call it like that back in the day. What are the options at my disposal? What is it that I can do? Like I can go out into the world, but I'm a German living in France. My French isn't that good, so I probably have language problems. Another thing I can do is just go on all the different dating apps and gamify Tinder for me and OkCupid and all the other things. Meaning what I did was after dinner, half an hour, I go onto the apps and swipe a bit for people that I believed would be fun to at least hang out with on a first date and get to know. And I was completely aware that the first dates would be bad because I haven't been on dates in a long time. I don't know how to be comfortable around pretty girls when I'm alone. And I knew it would suck, but I also knew I couldn't get to that date that would introduce me to my future wife if I didn't go onto that first horrible date. So I decided to do that, and took me 1.5 years. But at that point, I knew like, oh, my confidence was growing, and I was see it was working. I met more interesting people, and I realized, okay, at this point, it's only a numbers game. Sooner or later, I'll meet the right person. And so I became open to just keep doing that, growing in my comfort zone, pushing the comfort zone, growing it. And at some point, then I stumbled over that profile of that beautiful girl with the most lovely smile, and I just had to contact her. And I was like, oh, it's like, might sound cheesy, but I really love your smile. I needed to let you know that. And at that point on my dating profile, so I had my favorite board game in my arm, and I had the biggest smiles on my face as well, like showing proactively who I am, the big nerd that I am. And she said like, oh yeah, I love your smile. And then we got talking. And when we asked each other at the same time, hey, how about we meet this weekend? I knew, bam, that's the one. And I took that spirit into the first date, already visualizing how much fun we would have, like openly talking about everything that's important to me. And that was another strategy. I didn't try to pretend to be someone who I wasn't, because I was looking for a long-term partner, not for a fling or a one-night stand. So I didn't hold back with my nerdiness, and I didn't hold back on everything that's important to me. And she just loved it. And just being that open and forthcoming and that reassured of myself really was attractive to her, like when she was interacting with me, because I seemed so self-assured, which only came by being open to doing a little dating over 1.5 years, but regularly, to build up that confidence and just being myself. And then she was a person who resonated well with my true awesome self. And now she's my wife, and now the kid is on the way. So that's just how it works. Like, you take it away, the big goal, oh, I have to meet that person, I have to have that thing that I'm missing. And then you're feeling horrible, you're only focusing on the bad stuff, and instead you embrace the process, as you said, like you live your life, you're enjoying it, but you do it mindful and in a self-directed manner. And then what you want comes out the other end simply as a consequence of the awesome future version that you're building brick by brick.
Um. Okay, so I'm just gonna tell you what's going on in my head right now, baby.
Yeah.
Because you're coming for my neck. Do you know what that means?
Coming from money
No, coming for my neck. Do you
for
know
your
what
neck?
that means?
Oh no.
Yeah. So that means that you're telling my business. Like you're you're attacking me with your words.
Oh, that doesn't sound too good.
No, it's a good thing. So there's
Okay.
so where I'm from, they say when you coming for my neck, it depends on the territory. But right now you're talking so well, so good because these are the things that I hear. I hear for one that you did like a self-assessment and you said, okay, I am overindulging in this game thing. This is my comfort zone, but I also have this thing where that I want and I desire, which is
Mm,
gonna make me step out or reduce this relationship of gaming, right? And be intentional about this this dating thing, right? And so where that is for me, like I don't know, I've dated I'm not I'm I've dated and it seems very different.
mm.
I am afraid of the whole dating app thing. It just makes me I think I become a little anxious. So I don't know if I could do that particularly, but I think that there are some areas that I could like be probably like you said be open, but more so kind to myself because if I think about it, and I'm about to be transparent, if I think about it with based on what you just shared, I don't know if I've been kind enough to myself to be open.
Mm.
I don't know if I've been kind enough to Jessica to say, it's okay that that happened in the past, or it's okay that you got that wrong, or it's okay that you thought this was going to end up in marriage and it did. It's okay. And it does not make you less of a person because one situation or a few situations didn't happen, but just be okay with just learning yourself. Most important, like it's one thing to learn other people and build relationship with other people, but have you taken the time to learn yourself so that you can love other people? And
Yeah.
that just came from me because I haven't done that. So it's like this is why this ring finger is empty, Ben.
Yeah.
This is an empty finger for
Yeah.
a reason. It's because I have not been nice enough to myself. Oh my goodness. So just fun fact, is your wife into gaming or what's on the common
Yeah.
denominator for you all? What do y'all do together that kind of like
So
signify and enhances
so
your relationship?
so we couldn't have been different when we met. So I was into gaming, she was into fashion. I was into heavy metal, she was into K-pop. Um, and the only thing that in common is that we worked in English language. So I worked in English at Blizzard, and she worked in English in her company because she always loved the international aspect. But again, it's not really like what you do doesn't really matter. It's that your values align and that you're on the same wavelengths. And where I got her into gaming is in collaborative board games, where we sit down and play board games together, not like Monopoly or anything where we play against each other and try to get one over on one another, but where we either succeed or lose together, because that's an experience that we share and we enjoy that a lot. Like we don't have to go out and go skydiving or anything to like, who we're doing something together that's exciting. We are sitting down playing a board game and trying to beat the big bad, and if we lose, then we lost together and it brings us closer. And if we win together and it brings us closer. So that's where I was able to nerdify her a little bit, is that she's now open to board games. But other than that, no, like on paper, we wouldn't have met in the real world, right? Like we wouldn't have met randomly at a concert because we have completely different music tastes. But now I listen to some K-pop, she listens to some hard rock and some metal. So we have good influence on each other to widen our horizons.
You look so happy, Benedict. I can't even lie. Like your energy and then just the way you talk about her, it just seems like you're genuinely happy. Like
Yes,
you
most
can't buy.
definitely. Sorry, say again, last
No, I
part?
was like, I said you can't buy that.
Yeah, no. And that thing, but also as you said, the key, if you like, if if I had to talk to past me, right? Or like, let's not say past me because I don't want to change the outcome of how things developed. Like to the person who has the same struggles as me 20 years ago. Um, you first need to be kind to yourself. And as you said, like you first need to be able to love yourself before you can love anybody else. It's like the saying, if in an airplane emergency, put on your oxygen mask first before you help anybody else. Because if you don't do that, if you're not okay, then you're becoming a liability to others instead of being able to uplift others. And it's the exact same thing with being kind, present, and open. Like being kind to yourself is mostly important as a first step, but then also being kind to others. Saying like, hey, they might have a shitty day. That's why they honked at me, right?
Yeah.
Or they need to get to the emergency room. Maybe their wife is in labor, right? I don't know their life. So let's not judge them and curse at the other driver, but just use kindness, be present. What might be going on in their life? I don't know. Can I influence or control what they're doing? No. So why the F should I get upset right now? Can
Yeah.
I be open to just let that emotion go? Like, thank you, emotion, for having your say. That this annoys me because honking is a loud noise that's upsetting, but I now work through this and I can let you go. And that dude drives off into the sunset. I'm never ever going to see them again in my life. Why should I carry that for 1 minute longer in my life and let it make me upset and grow angry? Right. That's and that's the part. So we need to start with ourselves and then we can also extend it to other people.
Benedict, I don't know if you know this or not, but you done gave me homework to go do. You have given me homework because one of the main things that I've taken from this is that I'm so career focused and career driven because I feel like
Mhm.
that's the best place I've had success in my life. And where I can be, I don't know, where I'm more accepted, if I'm really being honest. I feel like I'm more accepted there. But doing this podcast and stepping out on faith and doing that has really brought out the best in me, but it's also brought or highlighted insecurities that I have. And
Mm.
so the homework that I hear you say is that through incremental changes, whereas you took the 5 minutes per day to write your book and you got it done in 3 months, and then you took moments per day to reach out on your dating app. Like you did it per day. You took your time. And so sometimes it says be anxious for nothing, right? And I've become anxious about everything. And so the
Mm.
reason why I become anxious is because I don't think I've taken advantage of what you're presenting with the incremental changes that need to happen. And so for someone like me, because I can only imagine that with you being in the realm that you're in coaching, somebody going through transition, all that stuff, how would you um, break down or help me break down the changes or how to do the incremental changes? What does that look like practically?
So practically, we would start at being kind to yourself in the sense of allowing yourself to visualize that future outcome. Like,
Okay.
hey, Jess, in a perfect world, what would be your career or whatever you're working on? What would that look like? And then you really get into it. You give details that you can really feel it and see yourself in it. And they're like, okay, so that's future you. Then just you right now. Like, give me a breakdown. Where are you right now? Are there some things that you have already done to become that person? And what are the options for you to choose from where you can, if we break down this journey from you right now to super duper awesome future you, like there's like steps in between. Before you're the super awesome version, what's one step before that? What's the last thing you need to overcome? And the thing before that, and the thing before that, and the thing before that. And then you break down this super threatening, oh my god, I can never become that person. It's like so grand and tough. I can never do it. You break it down, you break it down, you break it down, all the way through to the here and now, where you can start with the most tiny thing that you can do in 1 minute. Like, yeah, I could Google that book that I was talking about. Maybe I should read that. And then you start with reading that book, or you start with mindfulness practices, or you start with a gratitude journal where you say, like, hey, I have problems, like we identified, you have problems being kind to yourself. What's the good things in your life? Like, what did you do well today? Like, when we talk again from each day, I want to get one example for you where you said, like, hey, Jess, you did that well, I'm proud of you. And then, right, you build that appreciation. You need to be present with the good things that you're doing and celebrate those wins, because motivation is not found in the wilds. It's not you're walking around, oh, I'm not motivated. Oh, a big vein of motivation. Let's dig into it. And now I'm getting stuff done. Motivation stems from all these little successes, and you're looking back and you're marking them off on your calendar or however you want. Like, holy crap, like for 1 week, I've been doing awesome things already. I think I can really do it. And then it becomes a month and 2 months and 3 months. So it's this power of streaks as well, that you do a little bit every day and you keep going every day. And then you extend your streak longer and longer and longer. For example, I'm doing Duolingo right now to learn better French, to have more better conversations with French doctors in case of emergency for the little one in the future. And the mechanics that they're using that is the most efficient in my opinion is having those streaks. They tell you, hey, you haven't logged in today. You not just need to do one lesson today, it takes 5 minutes, and then your streak extends. And then you go in, you do the thing, and you're like, okay, now I'm logged in. I have 10 more minutes. I do 2 more lessons. And then you do a bit more every day, but you come back every day. And if you only have 5 minutes a day, it's okay. You just keep the streak going. And that builds up to a better language proficiency in the future. And the same is it with the appreciation and finding motivation. We're building that motivation for ourselves. As we overcome all these little steps and we're in the middle, halfway to becoming that person, we're like, holy crap, we already did half of it. Like, how awesome are we? And they're like, let's keep going. What's the next thing I can do? And
Yeah.
that's really how you go about it. And then by doing all these, by being open to breaking it down and doing all those little things, being present with what these steps are and how they go together, and appreciating yourself with kindness for all the good stuff you're already doing, and looking to that brighter future where you know exactly the person who you want to become, what they are, what traits they have, then it's simply a consequence of your newfound behavior and mindset that you're becoming that person one step at a time. But it will take time. It does not happen overnight. But it's the same with everything in life. If I want to be super buff and have muscles to the moon, I can't go to the gym for like a week and I go 24 hours a day without sleep, without anything, and train. Like, no, I need to train 3 times a week for a year or whatever at least. It's always the same principle. It's for physical change, it's for mental change, but also for this motivation that we build in ourselves.
Man, I really feel like after this call, I am gonna go to my room and I'm gonna write some of this stuff down. Like, okay, I gotta break it down, big picture, and then what can I do for at least 5 minutes a day? The 5 minute a day rule. Okay, this is our friend Benedikt has taught us a 5 minute a day rule. So, listeners, viewers, make sure that you write down what you're gonna do. Comment your 5 minute a day rule for yourself. I think that'll be a good thing for us as a community to do once this comes out. Like, I'm super excited about it. Like, you really like broke it down to where it helped me personally. I am so grateful that we got this opportunity to interact with each other and for us to learn from you and learn about your personal story. Congratulations on your daughter. She's gonna be a well-groomed citizen being. She's gonna be happy. She's gonna be well taken care of with a healed hand, two healed
Yeah.
wrists. But normally on this platform, being if we want to think about
anything that maybe I didn't ask about or maybe was left unsaid that is really burning in your heart that you really want the viewers to know maybe about you or life. If they didn't hear anything else that you said during this
Hmm.
time, what would you leave for them?
So what I would leave anybody with is simply try once a day to be more kind, present, and open with yourself, and then from that stems everything else. And where you just said like, hey, I need to write stuff down, and I kind of want to do that, not to plug my website or stuff, but we actually have an exercise on that on the website where the example is career development, but you can use the same handouts and material and process to work on whatever you like. It's the same framework, just different example. And on that page, you also find the book. If you want to know more about my story and how I met my wife and about the philosophy of being kind, present, and open, it's online for free as a PDF. It's all on the same website.
Yes, I'm so glad you plugged that in because we are going to have that in the description, you guys. So make sure everything that he just offered is in the description now. So listen, I know this was good because I'm not easily impressed, but I am over impressed right now. Like I'm going to take this 5-minute rule and I'm going to go to the website myself. But you guys, y'all already know what it is. Thank you so much for tuning in this week. We love you, but always remember, life could be much more simple if you just ask. See y'all later.